My parents said it was fair. I paid their bills while my brother lived like a king, until I moved out and left them broke. I'm a 26 male, working as a diesel mechanic at one of the biggest shops in our city. I've been doing this since I was 19, starting as an apprentice and working my way up. A late-night text from Ethan, "You owe us," sparked my fury, hinting at their betrayal. I'm the guy they call when the other mechanics can't figure out those Big Mac engines. I can tear them down and rebuild them with my eyes closed at this point. But this isn't the life my parents wanted for me. My mom, 53 female, and my dad, 55 male, had this whole plan where I'd go to college, get some cushy office job, and be their perfect success story. When I told them I was going to trade school instead of college, you'd think I told them I was becoming a professional dumpster diver or something. Their scorn burned, a wound I'd later avenge. Then there's my younger brother, Ethan, 21 male. This kid, man, where do I even start? His smug grin as Mom coddled him fueled my growing resentment. While I'm out there busting my butt in 90 DGF heat, crawling under trucks and coming home looking like I took a bath in motor oil, this dude's living his best life, playing video games and finding himself. The real fun started when I turned 22. I was making decent money by then. A secret bank statement I found revealed they'd been siphoning my earnings. But solid enough to have my own place if I wanted. But my parents hit me with this whole family should stick together. We're a team, Mom cooed, her words a trap I fell for. That's when they dropped the bomb. I needed to start paying rent. $900, 0 cents a month to be exact. Now, I'm not against paying rent. That's fair, right? I'm an adult making money. I should contribute to the household. But here's where it gets messed up. Ethan pays nothing. Zero, zilch, nada. Their excuse, he's still in school. Yeah, school meaning taking one class at community college that they're paying for, which he's probably going to fail anyway because he spends more time on his Xbox Series X than in class. Let me break down a typical day in our house because this is important for context. I'm up at 5 a.m. clock in the morning at the shop by 6:30, working my butt off all day, dealing with crazy deadlines, angry customers, and engines that weigh more than my brother's motorcycle. Meanwhile, Ethan rolls out of bed whenever he feels like it, maybe goes to his one class of the day if he's feeling ambitious, then parks his butt on the couch for his daily gaming marathon. Mom makes his breakfast, his lunch, his dinner, does his laundry, and cleans his room. "You're our star," she'd tell him, ignoring my sacrifices. Me, I'm lucky if there's any food left when I get home. Half the time I'm grabbing drive-thru on my way back from work because Mom didn't know when I'd be home, so she didn't make extra. Their favoritism stung, a daily reminder of my role as the family mule. If Ethan leaves dishes in the sink, no problem. If I leave a coffee mug out, you're being disrespectful to the household. Ethan wants new gaming gear. They'll have it ordered before he finishes asking. I need new tools for work. You know, my actual job. You make good money. You should pay for that yourself. But here's the real thing, and I didn't find this out until much later. They were using my rent money to pay the mortgage. A ledger I stumbled upon exposed their scheme to fund Ethan's dreams. So basically, I was paying for the roof over all our heads while being treated like some unwanted house guest. I tried talking to them about it multiple times. Every conversation went the same way. Me, don't you think it's unfair that I'm paying rent while Ethan lives here free? Mom, he's focusing on his education. Me, he's barely passing his classes. Dad, don't be jealous of your brother when you were his age. Me, when I was his age, I was already working full-time. Mom, everyone's path is different. Dad, if you don't like it, you can always move out. You're too selfish, Dad snapped, their words a blade I'd turn against them. The crazy thing is, I put up with this for years. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that eventually they'd see how messed up it was. That Ethan would grow up and start contributing. Their refusal to change lit a fire in me, a resolve to break free. On top of that, my parents had this really interesting way of defining rent. According to them, that $900, 0 cents, only covered my bedroom and basic utilities. Everything else, that was extra. Want to use the washing machine? That'll be $35, 0 cents extra per month for water and electricity usage. Want to park in the driveway instead of on the street? $60, 0 cents monthly parking fee. Need to store your work tools in the garage? Another $45, 0 cents for storage. Their greed was a noose I'd slip out of. Meanwhile, Ethan's living like he's at a 5-star resort. The kid has the master bedroom. They gave him a bigger room when he turned 19 because he needs space for his gaming setup. He's got his own bathroom while I'm sharing one with my parents like I'm still in high school. And get this, he has a dedicated gaming room that used to be my dad's office. They literally moved all my dad's stuff to the living room so Ethan could have a proper streaming setup. One day I'm doing an oil change on my truck in the driveway because where else am I going to do basic maintenance? Ethan comes out whining about how the noise is ruining his stream. My dad actually had the nerve to tell me I needed to do my vehicle maintenance at the shop instead on my day off, using shop equipment I'm not supposed to use for personal vehicles because it was disturbing precious Ethan's YouTube stream that has like 15 followers. But the real kicker, they started itemizing my food consumption. No joke, Mom would go grocery shopping and suddenly there's a list on the fridge with Noah's portion calculated down to the last slice of bread. A gallon of milk? That's $5, 0 cents on my tab. Used 3 eggs for breakfast, $1.80. Want some of the dinner Mom cooked? Better cough up your share of the ingredients, Ethan thought. This kid's eating like a king. Mom's making him special trips to Trader Joe's for his dietary preferences. Only the best for you, she'd say, her bias a slap in my face. He's got his own snack cabinet that's literally labeled Ethan's Do Not Touch. Meanwhile, I bought myself a pack of protein bars and found half of them gone the next day. When I brought it up, Mom said, "You should hide your food better if you don't want to share it with your family." The hypocrisy was a spark, igniting my rebellion. The financial drain wasn't even the worst part. It was constant psychological warfare. Every family dinner, the ones I was allowed to join if I paid my portion, turned into a highlight reel of Ethan's achievements. Ethan might start streaming full-time translation. He's dropping out of community college. Ethan's got such a good eye for investments, he bought some sketchy NFTs after watching a TikTok about it. Ethan's really finding his passion. He spent $350, 0 cents of their money on a course about becoming an influencer. Me? I could literally rebuild an entire semi-engine, save a trucking company thousands in repairs, and get a commendation from my boss, and the most I'd get is, "That's nice, honey." Ethan, tell us more about your new TikTok channel. Their dismissal of my worth was a wound I'd heal with action. I won Mechanic of the Month 4 times in a row at my shop. Their silence screamed louder than their praise for Ethan. Ethan got 150 followers on YouTube. Mom made him a celebration dinner. One particular day really stands out. I just finished a massive job, a 14-hour-day complex transmission rebuild on a $250,000 0 cents truck that needed to be back on the road ASAP. The customer was so happy with my work they sent a thank you letter to my boss and gave me a $600 0 cents tip. I came home actually excited to share some good news for once. I walked in the door and the house was in full celebration mode. Balloons, cake, the whole 9 yards. I dared hope they'd seen my effort, a fleeting dream crushed. Nope. Ethan had just hit 1,500 subscribers on TikTok. Mom had invited his streaming friends over, ordered catering with my rent money, probably. And Dad even bought him a new camera as a congratulations on your success gift. When I tried to share my news, Mom literally patted me on the head like a dog and said, "That's great, honey. Oh, could you transfer your rent early this month? We need to upgrade Ethan's Wi-Fi for better stream quality." "You're just the help," her tone implied, fueling my resolve. The real show happened about 4 months ago. For context, I had just dropped about $9,000, 0 cents on a new professional tool set. My investment in my future, one they'd try to sabotage. We're talking Matco, everything in Matco. Ratchets, sockets, diagnostic equipment, the works. I had to finance part of it, but it was worth it because these tools were literally my future. I kept most of my tools at the shop, but I had this one toolbox at home for side jobs and personal projects. A treasure Ethan would defile. I had it organized perfectly, every tool in its place, everything labeled. My pride in my craft, soon to be violated. I even had some specialized diagnostic equipment I'd saved up for. This particular day, I'd pulled a double shift because we had a fleet of trucks that needed to be ready by morning. I'm talking 18 hours of nonstop work. Exhausted, I dreamed of rest, unaware of the storm awaiting. I pulled up to the house around 10:30 at night and saw lights on in the garage, a warning I was too weary to heed. I was too tired to care. I just wanted my bed. I walked into the garage and my heart stopped. My toolbox was on its side, tools everywhere, and there was Ethan and his friends, clearly drunk, using my professional diagnostic scanner as a doorstop for their beer pong setup. You know that moment in movies where everything goes quiet and the camera zooms in on the main character's face? That was me. Rage surged, my livelihood desecrated by his arrogance. These drunk idiots had turned my garage into their personal party zone, and my tools, my livelihood, were their party props. "Yo, Noah," Ethan slurred with a mocking grin. "We needed space for the table. Hope you don't mind, bro." Mind? My $1,500 0-cents diagnostic scanner was holding open the garage door. My socket sets were scattered across the floor like confetti, and my toolbox, my perfectly organized toolbox, looked like it got hit by a tornado. "I lost it. You've crossed a line," I growled, my voice shaking with fury. But that cold, deadly, calm kind of anger where your voice gets real quiet. "What the heck did you do, Ethan?" His careless shrug was a match to my fuse. "Chill out, man. They're just tools. We'll put them back later. Just tools." I walked over to my scanner, and sure enough, the screen was cracked. That's $1,000 right there. Minimum. I started checking my other tools. Sockets missing, ratchets damaged, precision instruments just gone. And these drunk idiots were still trying to play beer pong around me like nothing was wrong. That's when one of Ethan's friends, a punk in a Nike hoodie, stumbled and spilled beer all over my electrical testing equipment. Probably another $600, 0 cents down the drain. I grabbed Ethan by his shirt. "This is my life you're ruining," I shouted, my control slipping. "Do you have any idea how much this stuff costs?" He pushed my hand away, getting aggressive now. "Get off me!" "Dad will buy you new ones if they're so precious. Stop being such a jerk about it. Dad will buy me new ones." I started taking pictures of everything. The damage, the beer cans, the whole scene. Ethan started looking nervous now. "What are you doing?" "Documenting everything before I call the cops." That speared him up real quick. "You wouldn't dare. We're family." And that's when my parents walked in. Their arrival sealed my breaking point. Mom took one look at the scene and started yelling at me for grabbing Ethan. Dad was right behind her, already running his mouth about how I was overreacting. "They're just having some fun," Dad said, his dismissal a final betrayal. "You can't expect them to not use the garage just because you keep your stuff in here. I showed them the broken scanner," Mom's response. "Well, maybe if you paid more rent you could have a proper storage space for your things." That was it. That was the moment something in me just broke. Or maybe it finally got fixed. I don't know. I looked at them. Really looked at them. My mom fusses over Ethan like he's the victim. Ethan smirks behind them because he knows he's untouchable. "You're right," I said, real quiet. "I should get proper storage for my things." I went upstairs, grabbed my laptop, and started making calls that night. After everyone went to bed, Ethan passed out on the couch, his snores a mocking soundtrack to my resolve. I sat in my room and did something I should have done years ago. I made a spreadsheet. My ledger of justice, a reckoning in numbers. I documented everything. Every single penny I'd paid them over the past 3 years. $900, 0 cents monthly rent equals $32,400, 0 cents. Utility fees, $4,200, 0 cents. Parking fees, $2,160, 0 cents. Storage fees, $1,620, 0 cents. Various household expenses they made me cover, $4,500, 0 cents plus. Grand total, almost $51,000, 0 cents. That's not even counting all the tools Ethan and his friends destroyed. While I'm putting these numbers together, I got a text from Ethan. "Hey bro, sorry about the tools and stuff. Dad says he'll give you $250, 0 cents, to replace anything that broke." We good? $250.00 for thousands in damaged professional equipment. I didn't even respond. Instead, I started making calls. First to my buddy Ryan, who works in real estate. Turned out he had a client with a garage apartment for rent. Then to my bank to check my savings, my secret stash, a lifeline they'd never touch. Finally to my boss to ask about picking up some extra shifts. But here's where it gets interesting. Remember how I mentioned I'd been paying their mortgage without knowing it? Well, I did some digging. Turns out my $900.00 rent was exactly the amount of their monthly mortgage payment. A discovery that sharpened my plan's edge, though they hadn't been contributing a single penny to the mortgage in 3 years. So, I came up with a plan, a beautiful, karma-filled plan. First step, I signed the lease on that garage apartment. It was small, but it had a secure space for my tools and no entitled little brothers using my stuff as party decorations. I put down the deposit that same night. Second step, I started moving my stuff out quietly, a silent exodus, my rebellion cloaked in stealth. Just a few things each day when nobody was home. The important stuff went first, what was left of my tools, important documents, irreplaceable items. Their blindness to my moves was their downfall. Third step, I documented the tool damage meticulously. Took photos, videos, and got written statements from 2 of Ethan's friends who were actually decent enough to feel bad about what happened. I made copies of everything and stored them in 3 different places. My evidence, a sword I'd wield soon. Fourth step, I went to the bank and opened a new account at a completely different bank, started redirecting my paychecks there and canceled all the automatic payments to my parents' accounts. But the masterstroke? I waited. See, I knew exactly when their mortgage was due, the first of every month, and I knew they hadn't saved a penny because, why would they? They had their reliable cash cow living upstairs. The whole time I'm doing this, life went on as normal. I kept going to work, kept nodding along at dinner when they praised Ethan's latest business idea. He was now convinced he could become a cryptocurrency millionaire, kept acting like everything was fine. Mom did try to talk to me about the tool incident once. She came to my room with that fake, concerned look she'd perfected over the years. "Honey, I know you're upset about your tools, but Ethan feels really bad about it. Maybe if you hadn't left them in the garage." I just nodded and said, "You're right, Mom. I should find a better place to keep my things." Her relief was a mask I'd soon rip off. The best part? Ethan kept making it easier for me to justify what I was about to do. Every day there was some new nonsense. He borrowed my car without asking and came back with an empty tank. He had his friends over again. He even had the nerve to ask me to co-sign for a loan so he could invest in his streaming career. Meanwhile, I'm watching my parents enable everything. Dad bought him a new gaming monitor because his eyes were hurting from streaming too long. Mom was now doing his laundry, folding it and putting it away because he was too busy with content creation, all while I'm still getting bills for my share of utilities and being told I need to contribute more to the household. Their indulgence of Ethan was the fuel for my exit. I had my move-out date circled on my calendar, June 30th. Why that date? Because their mortgage was due the next day, and July was about to become a very, very interesting month for my dear family. On June 30th, I'd taken the day off work, for the first time in months, and made sure to wake up early, like 4:30 in the morning. Why? Because I wanted to be gone before they could try to stop me or guilt-trip me into staying. My escape was a silent revolt, planned to perfection. My new place was already set up. I'd been secretly moving stuff over for weeks. All that was left was my bed, my work clothes, and a few boxes of random stuff. I'd rented a small U-Haul the night before and parked it around the corner where they couldn't see it. The best part, I'd scheduled my move for the exact day I knew would hurt them the most. See, their mortgage was due on the 1st, and I knew for a fact they didn't have the money. How? Because I'd accidentally seen my mom's online banking screen when she was asking me to loan her money for Ethan's new streaming camera last week. Their account had less than $800, 0 cents in it. The plan was simple. Get my stuff out, leave my key, and ghost them until the inevitable meltdown. But you know what they say about best-laid plans. I'm quietly carrying out my last box when Ethan stumbles out of his room. My brother, ladies and gentlemen, finally awake before noon, his bleary eyes missing my quiet fury. He looks at me, looks at the box, and his hungover brain takes a full minute to process what he's seeing. "What are you doing?" I just kept walking. Didn't even look at him. That's when he noticed my nearly empty room through the open door. "Mom! Dad! Noah's trying to leave." Here we go. I heard the thundering footsteps as my parents rushed upstairs. My dad still in his pajamas, face getting red already. Mom right behind him, already started with the waterworks. "What is the meaning of this?" Dad's using his authority voice, a hollow command I defy. I sat down my box calmly. "I'm moving out." "Like heck you are. You can't just leave. What about your responsibilities to this family?" I pulled out my phone, opened my spreadsheet. "You mean these responsibilities?" I started reading out the numbers. Every payment, every fee, every dollar they'd squeezed out of me while letting Ethan live like a prince. Mom's face went from fake tears to real panic as the numbers kept going. "That's $51,000. 0 cents over 3 years. I finished. "Oh, and here's the best part. I know that's been going to the mortgage that's due tomorrow." "You've bled me dry," I said, their shock my vindication. Mom grabbed the wall for support. Ethan just stood there, mouth open like a fish. "You can't do this to us, Mom." "Actually, I can, and I am. But wait, there's more." I pulled out a manila envelope. "This is all the documentation of the tools Ethan and his friends destroyed. A $4,000, 0 cents worth of professional equipment. I'll be filing a small claims court case next week unless I'm reimbursed in full." Ethan started sputtering. "But you're my brother. You can't sue me." "Watch me." Dad tried to step in front of the door. "You're not leaving until we sort this out. I'm 6'3" and work with heavy machinery all day. Dad's 5'11" and hasn't seen a gym since the 1980. He just looked at him until he moved. "The rent you've been charging me. That's more than my new place costs. The utility fees made up to fund Ethan's lifestyle. The storage fees for my tools. Look how well that turned out." I picked up my box again. "I've got all the documentation, all the payments, all the texts where you demanded money, every receipt, every bank statement. If you try to cause problems, it all goes to a lawyer." Mom was full on crying now. "Please, the mortgage. We don't have not my problem anymore. Maybe Ethan can start paying rent. Oh wait, that would require him to actually have a job." Ethan lunged at me. I sidestepped and he crashed into the wall. "You're nothing without us," he screamed, his desperation music to my ears. "By the way," I added, heading down the stairs, "I've already changed my direct deposit information at work and closed our joint account. Good luck with the mortgage tomorrow." I heard Mom collapse onto the floor, sobbing. Dad was yelling something about family duty and responsibilities. Ethan was still threatening me, his voice cracking with panic. I loaded my last box, got in the U-Haul, and drove to my new place. Total silence from them for about 5 hours. Then the texts started. A storm of guilt and rage I savored. Let me paint you a picture of how that first day went down. Hour by hour, I watched their messages evolve from anger to panic to straight-up desperation. It was like watching the 5 stages of grief, except nobody died, just their financial stability. First wave came from Dad, all righteous anger. 7:45 in the morning. "Get back here right now." 7:50 in the morning. "You're making a huge mistake." 8:10 in the morning. "No son of mine acts this way." 8:30 in the morning. "Answer your phone." Ethan showing his usual maturity. 11:45 in the afternoon. "You're dead when I find you." 11:50 in the afternoon. "Hope you're happy breaking up the family." I didn't respond to any of them, just kept screenshots of everything for my records. But around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when reality started hitting them. The mortgage payment was due the next day, and they finally checked their bank account. Even Ethan started realizing things were serious. 6 o'clock in the evening. "Come on, man, don't do this." 6:30 in the evening. "I'll pay you back for the tools." 7 o'clock in the evening. "Mom and Dad are freaking out." 7:30 in the evening. "This isn't funny anymore." I spent that evening in my new apartment, enjoying the peace and quiet, watching their messages roll in while eating takeout on my couch that nobody else had the right to use. The next day, July 1st, was when things really hit the fan. See, not only did they miss the mortgage payment, but that was just the beginning. Remember all those subscriptions and services they'd been paying for with my rent money? Ethan's premium Wi-Fi for streaming, his gaming subscriptions, Mom's fancy yoga studio membership, Dad's fishing club dues, their Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and whatever else. All of it started bouncing. Their cards declined everywhere. Ethan's YouTube stream went down mid-game because they couldn't pay the internet bill. His fans' confusion was a sweet victory I relished. Then the real panic set in. Mom called me crying about how the mortgage company was sending notices. Dad left voicemails about fixing this as a family. Ethan's messages got increasingly desperate as his streaming setup started falling apart piece by piece. But here's the best part. They started turning on each other through my cousin, the only family member I still talk to. I heard about the epic fights. Dad blames Mom for not saving money. Mom blamed Dad for spoiling Ethan. Ethan blamed them for not having a backup plan. Everyone blaming me for being selfish. The cherry on top. Ethan had to get a real job, like an actual job, at the local Target. Day one, he had to help carry groceries to cars in the summer heat. He posted on his TikTok about how hard manual labor is. His whining was my silent triumph. Welcome to the real world. By the end of the first week, they tried everything. Dad came to my workplace. Security escorted him out. Mom tried to guilt my boss into giving her my new address. He laughed and said no. Ethan's friends messaged me, offering to pay for the tools. Too little, too late. They even sent our old pastor to talk some sense into me. But the real karma, that was just getting started, because what they didn't know was that missing one mortgage payment was about to trigger a domino effect that would change their lives forever. Their comfortable little world where Ethan was king and I was the ATM was about to come crashing down hard. See, my parents had been living way beyond their means for years, using my rent money to maintain their lifestyle and fund Ethan's dreams of internet stardom. Without my $900.00 a month, their entire budget went up in flames. First, the mortgage company started calling, then the credit card companies, then the utilities. Their house of cards collapsed, a justice I orchestrated. But let me break down how it all played out, because each family member's reaction was priceless. Let's start with Ethan. My precious brother's journey from future YouTube star to reality was a thing of beauty. Week 1 at Target, he got written up for being on his phone during shifts. Week 2, he had a meltdown because a customer disrespected him by asking him to help load groceries in the rain. By week 3, he was begging his streaming followers for donations. He made $312.00. The Wi-Fi getting cut off was the final nail in his influencer career coffin. His last stream was him literally crying about how unfair life is while the video quality kept dropping until it finally went black. "You did this," he messaged, his desperation my reward. Mom's breakdown was more gradual. First, she had to cancel her fancy yoga studio membership, then her weekly nail appointments, then her essential massage treatments. She tried getting a job for the first time in 12 years. Her fall from grace was a bitter pill I watched her swallow. She ended up working at the same Target as Ethan, different shifts. Their shared humiliation was poetic justice. Dad's ego took the biggest hit. He'd always played the role of successful provider, even though I was the one actually providing. When he had to sell his fishing gear to make a partial mortgage payment, something in him just broke. His fishing club buddies stopped inviting him to their weekly outings. His pride crumbled, a consequence I'd ensured. Last week, they finally had to put the house up for sale. They are moving into a one-bedroom apartment next month, all 3 of them. Ethan's furious because he has to sleep on a pull-out couch. Mom's devastated because the apartment doesn't have a proper entertaining space for her knitting club that she can't afford to buy yarn for. Anyway, the real cherry on top. I got promoted at work. Shop foreman position, significant pay raise, company van. When word got back to them, they tried reaching out again with a business proposition. Apparently, they wanted to invest in my success by moving in with me so we could pool our resources as a family. I replied with a screenshot of their mortgage statements showing how they'd exploited me for years and told them to lose my number. So here I am, sitting in my paid-for apartment, all my bills up to date, my tools safely stored in my own garage, watching my family learn some very expensive lessons about consequences. Ethan's still at Target, now in a 4-month competition with Mom for Employee of the Month. Neither has won yet. Dad's delivering groceries at night, and I'm getting ready to take a 3-week vacation with the money I've saved since stopping my family contributions. Life's funny sometimes. For years, they treated me like an ATM, a servant, a backup plan. Now they're learning the hard way that you can't treat people like garbage and expect them to keep funding your lifestyle. Since people are asking about the tools, yes, I did file in small claims court. The hearing's next month. I have all the documentation, photos, and even statements from Ethan's friends. Should be interesting. And no, I won't help them get back on their feet. They can walk on their own for once. Just heard from my cousin, they're having a family meeting to discuss pooling resources to survive in the apartment. Apparently they're expecting Ethan to contribute 1/3 of the rent. He'll fail them too, my cousin texted, a final twist in their unraveling. The freedom I've won is real, but the weight of their betrayal lingers, a reminder to never again be their pawn.